Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Yes, I Have Glasses On. I want to read this to you. This is a meme on Facebook. How did we get in our current situation? Here's how. When the Democrats showed their true colors, you got angry and elected Republicans. When the Republicans showed their true colors, you got angry and elected Democrats. When anyone suggested to you that both parties were corrupt and that neither side were looking out for your interest, you acted like they were crazy. But the real definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I'm going to provide a link to this meme if I can. So my wife went the to the credit union. Actually, she went to the credit union. We went to a couple of banks, and they all have this thing going on now, and it's a part of the Patriot Act. For those who said you hated the Patriot Act, but now you support it because Obama is the one doing it. And some of you, like, who is that crazy guy? And he's not crazy when it comes to Scientology. He has his head together on when it comes to Scientology and exposing Scientology. But on anything else, I wouldn't listen to anything he had to say. But they call him the wise when he's actually the unwise beard man. And I don't recall his name. But, I've caught him a number of times where, when Bush was in power, when Bush was president, he said certain things. He opposed, like, the Patriot Act, Gitmo, the wars, but now he supports those things because Obama's doing it. Again, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It's the same freaking thing. And no, it doesn't all of a sudden overnight become good and needed because your guy's doing it instead of the other guy. It's still the same thing. So, again, let's look at this. There it is right there. How did we get into our current situation? Here's how. When the Democrats showed their true colors, you got angry and elected Republicans. When the Republicans showed their true colors, you got angry and elected Democrats. When anyone suggested to you that both parties were corrupt and that neither side were looking out for your interest, you acted like they were crazy. But the real definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different result. And I want to point something out. The Republican Party is actually not a conservative party. They are a neoconservative party. Neocons are actually socialists, not conservatives. You look, for example, at Romney and Romneycare. Obamacare, Romneycare, same thing. Okay? You tweak it a little bit, and it's the same thing. And you don't have to tweak it much. And it's actually not for the betterment of the people. It's for the aggrandizement of the insurance companies and the legal profession, because now we're going to have all sorts of lawsuits for and against. But yeah, it's fascism, which is another form of socialism. I was born and raised under Franco in España. I know what socialism and fascism is. The Republican Party is neoconservative, which is socialist. It's not conservative. There's a big difference. Let's see, where's the book? I had it up here. It may still be. Here it is. Here it is. I would recommend you read this book by Garrett Garrett. It's People's Pottage. This is actually the most up-to-date, this is People's Pottage, but it's now titled Ex America, the 50th anniversary of the People's Pottage. My grandmother was a worshiper of FDR. We had, I lost him in the fire, but had 2 or 3 photo albums that were nothing but newspaper clippings of pictures of FDR. And my grandmother on my mother's side was from North Carolina. And my granddaddy was a farmer. Now, my granddaddy had to stop farming because of FDR's policies. And my granddaddy was no rich farmer. My granddaddy used a mule to plow his fields. And because price controls went into effect because of regulations, my granddaddy couldn't afford to farm because he couldn't compete with the big farmers. Yes, it was for, the money. It's usually that way. But, Gitmo's still open. You know that Gitmo could be closed by the stroke of a pen? Obama hasn't done it. He's had, 5 years to do it? He hasn't done it. It would take him 5 seconds. He's not going to do it. He's been putting people in prison for drugs. Yes, at the federal level. But I thought y'all thought he supported decriminalization of drugs, at least cannabis. He hasn't done anything about it. Now that it's catching on, he's actually talking favorably about it. But up to this point, he has not been very favorable about it. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The war in Iraq, by the way, is not finished. There are still thousands, yes, thousands of U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Just because state media is not talking about it doesn't mean it's not going on. There are still Americans being killed in Iraq. Now, it's true that for the most part, the U.S. troops have been replaced by so-called civilian contractors. What are civilian contractors? They're mercenaries. They're armed, they're fighting, they're killing people, they're being killed, they're mercenaries. They're soldiers. The war in Afghanistan is still going on. Y'all oppose this. Y'all oppose? Of course, some of you, and I know the unwise beard man has actually said, well, when did I ever say that? It's not up to me to remember for you. It's not up to me to do your research. It's up to you. You opposed these wars, and now you support them. You opposed Gitmo. Now you support it. You opposed the Patriot Act. Now you support it. You cannot open a bank account without the Patriot Act coming into effect and doing a background check on you. Yes, they do a background check now when you open a bank account. And I don't mean just, well, do you owe somebody money, which not every place used to do. Now every place does it. We opened an account once, and all they wanted to know was, do you live here? We need proof that you live here. That's it. Now it's not that. Now they actually do a background check on you. A legal, looking into issues about you. And being who I am, I'm surprised nothing's come up yet. Well, that I know about. So, Gitmo's still open. The wars are still going on. Actually, there have been even more wars. What about Fast and Furious? What about the attack on the embassy? Actually been several attacks on embassies, but Benghazi is what I'm talking about. Yes, those lives matter. What about Fast and Furious? Obama supposedly doesn't like guns, but he sure doesn't have a problem giving them to drug cartels in Mexico, and then those very guns being used against Americans, and including an American agent who was killed, a uniformed American agent who was killed. Now, see, some of you think, there's Republicans over here and Democrats over here. No, they're the same freaking thing. You're just not looking close enough. You're not really examining the situation. You want things to be a certain way, therefore they look a certain way to you. But the reality is that the Republicans and Democrats are, it's like you walk into a building. This building there, and they have two separate facades on this building. You walk in, and there's a desk when you walk in, and they actually, both areas, so we walk into a room, and they both rooms look a little different. And then you walk through the next door, and guess what? It's all the same. You're all in one room. And look at the NRA. The NRA is not pro-Second Amendment. They're attacking the mentally ill right now. What do you think they did in Germany before the war? You know, the mentally ill are one of the first people that are gone after. Um, you know, there's what I forget the name of the organization, Americans for Gun Rights. Anyway, you know, and you have the Libertarian Party, which has been taken over predominantly by neocons. Gary Johnson's the neocon. Um, Ron Paul was sort of a mix between a old school conservative and a libertarian, true libertarian, lowercase l, not uppercase l. But you know, the last two presidential candidates the Libertarian Party has had have both been neocons. So that's pretty freaking sad. But a lot of you don't know that because you don't look deeply enough into it. You think, well, you know, the state media, which, like the unwise beard man is or was a part of that state media. And actually, somebody we know up here formerly was involved with state media, but now he has his own thing going on YouTube and a number of other places. If you want to look him up, he's Dave Ridley of the Ridley Report, RidleyReport.com, I think. But he actually shows what's going on, you know, and he's a good guy from what I can see. But you know, you think, oh, well, those are the Republicans over there. I don't want to. Those are Democrats, so I'm not going to even listen to them. Or I'll just give them a slight listen. If you actually bothered, you'd see that the legislation that's going on, it's all the same. When the Democrats and Republicans are arguing, it's all for show. In the end, you know, I used to watch C-SPAN, and you watch C-SPAN, and you'll see the only times they really argue with each other is when they're trying to do it for show. Otherwise, they both pass the legislation they both want. So in the end, it's all the same because they both want the same thing. It's only when they're doing it for a public show that it's not the same, or you don't think it's the same. But anyway.